Today's video review of the Vet2Vet No Flex Frame Stiffener. Hello, I'm Eugene Tordo and this is ET Garage, and like I said, this video is a part 2 or the follow-up video to the Vet2Vet No Flex Frame Stiffener system. So today's video is basically going to be about, is it worth it? Is it worth the 600 bucks? But before we get into that, next week's video hopefully will be how I put a clock spring in my 90 Corvette. They don't make replacements for the 90 Corvette anymore, so I'm going to try and make that fit. But that'll be next video, I hope. Getting back to this, before I get into it, I'll go over my car, if you're not familiar with it. It says over 298,000 miles on it. I'm not going to go into the motor and brakes, but I'll go into the suspension, so you know what we're working with here. The front suspension uses Global West Del Lum bushings. The rear suspension uses poly bushings. And it has soft ride springs, the factory soft ride springs. I have a 32 millimeter solid sway bar in the front, a 26 millimeter solid sway bar in the rear. I have, and this is really important because this pertains to adjusting this, making this no flex system work, is the Ride-Tech shocks with adjustable rebound only. That's really important if you're going to be putting this system on your car, at least in my opinion. Now, one problem I had was with the car on the ground, adjusting the bars with just regular length wrenches. You don't have the room under there, so you need stubby wrenches. I just fabbed up myself a set. I took an old wrench, cut it in half, and added just a little bit more material to the ends just to make them the right length, and ground them open to fit the bar and the lock nut. And now I'm able to adjust this with this on the ground and adjust it. When you adjust this, you want to make sure the car is on a flat level surface. My garage's floor is all messed up, so it's not level. One thing problem I ran into, I didn't notice it until I started playing around with the adjustment on the bars, is on one side I'm just about bottomed out with just one turn, and on the other side I have plenty of thread left with just one turn. So it's basically shorter on the distance between the front bracket and the rear bracket is basically shorter than on the passenger side. It's, according to the manufacturer, it's not supposed to be that way. So I did call him and talk to him about it, and he said it should be the same distance on each side, and he wanted to know if this car is ever in an accident. And I've had this car, I don't know, like over 10 years, 10, 11 years or something like that, and it's never been in an accident since I've had it. I haven't done any other measurements to confirm if there's a difference in frame on each side or if there's a difference in the brackets, but I did take the rods back off because I thought maybe one was longer than the other, and I checked them and they are both the same length. Another thing, when you adjust these, whether it's the left or the passenger side or the driver's side, left or right, those rear brackets, you can tell they flex in as you're tightening them up, so there's some flex in there. I did try adjusting them different ways. For instance, if you go on the Furums, all the guys there are adjusting them so there's the same number of threads on each side. If I do that, it'll be tighter on the passenger side than the driver's side because it's just longer spacing between the brackets. I can fix this by shimming this side out. The driver's side, I believe I can shim it out if I want to. I'll have to play with that in the future. I haven't had time. But I did try adjusting it both ways so it was the same number of threads on each side. And when I did that, I had to really torque down on the passenger side a lot more, so that I didn't feel comfortable with that. If you go by the instructions, it says to turn the bars so they're snug and then take it for a ride, and if you don't like it, adjust it some more, and etc., etc. It also says to wrap tape around the nuts to protect them from the wrenches if you don't want to scrape them up, if you're worried about scraping them up. Also, to mark them with tape. Well, I don't know if it said that in the instructions. I read that somewhere else. But they said tape so you know how many times you turn it. What I do is I took a paint pen and marked it on one side and 180 degrees on the other side, and marked one and the other side 2, and then I can tell how many turns I've turned it. If I turned it half a turn or 1 turn. Right now I have them at 1 turn, so I'm going to play around with that some more. The real question is it worth it? Worth the $600? That will be up to you. But I will say this: if you are doing track days, really into track days, and doing autocross and other road race type of events, it's definitely worth it. I can't say if these make any improvement in drag racing type of situation, because I haven't been to the track, and then you'd have to take the bars off and do like 3 runs with the bars on and 3 runs with the bars off and all that stuff. See if it made a difference. I really can't say. One thing, this will make your car ride stiffer. And on around choppy roads around here where I live in Pennsylvania, you got all these frost-heaved roads. You don't want that. This is where the adjustable shocks come in play. I was able to correct that by taking out rebound. It'd be nice if I had rebound and compression too, but compression, based on my own experience, on adjustable shocks doesn't make as much a difference as the rebound. Rebound has the bigger effect. It does make the car feel more stable when you're driving on the road on these rutted roads where like triaxles go up and down this one road not too far from here. Makes the car the road basically wants to kill you. Even in an SUV, my SUV, and I see other people coming down that road, they're basically all over the place because the road just wants to throw them all over the place. With these bars installed, it makes a difference. Hardly correcting at all. So it does make it a lot more stable. And with the top on and off. Now, one article I read, and I will leave in the description box a link to that article, and I will leave a link to the product down in the description box. So look for that. But they adjusted it. They said to adjust it so when it's on the ground and the target top off, you measure from here to here, something like that. And with it up on jack stands, it should be the same way. I didn't do that, but I don't feel there's a need to do that. I just don't see the point in that. You're going to adjust it to how you feel it's most comfortable driving. If you're driving it on the street, it makes you feel comfortable driving. One thing you have to keep in mind, the original C4 suspension and frame, they know it had flex in it, and it's actually designed to have a certain harmonic frequency in it, and that's for driver comfort. So when you stiffen it up, it's making it harsher. So now when they designed the C4 Corvette and it had that flex in it, they tuned the suspension as much as they could to compensate for that. So when you stiffen up the frame, you have to retune your suspension to compensate for that stiffer frame. Just saying, something to keep in mind. Now, a lot of, I've seen 2 videos on it where they go out and test it, and I didn't see either of those videos test it with the roof off, but they did test it and said they noticed, like, going on uneven surfaces, less squeaks and stuff going on uneven surfaces. Like if I go to the end of my driveway here, there's a little divot. If I drive through there, I'll get a little squeaking. I noticed 0 difference in the squeaking going through there. And as far as rattles, I have more rattles, and I read through a bunch of forum posts, and there was at least one person that had the same problem I had more rattles on the passenger side, and I'm seeming to have more rattles on that side, not less. And with the top off, it seems like with the target top stored in the back, it seems like I'm getting more rattles too from the target top, even though it's in the fixtures back there. You have those little holders that hold it in place, and a little spring loaded tab that holds the front of it. But it does ride a lot more stable on those uneven roads with the top off. Now I will say this, on going around turns, I mean smooth turns, sharp wavy turns, with the top off or on, this car always handled those turns really good. It is better with the bars on. The car seems a lot more flatter going around turns, and this car was pretty flat already, but I can say it seems a lot more solid and planted and flatter going around those turns. On bumpy turns though, without being able to adjust the rebound, the shocks, it was too jittery. In other words, you were like bouncing around the turn. You don't want that. You want the wheels to and suspension to take up any indifferences in the road, and those tires to stay in contact. An example would be, say, a Formula One car, Indy car, or even NASCAR. If you ever look, they don't run skinny sidewall tires on their cars. They run thick sidewalls, and that's because they got really stiff frames and suspension, and they need that extra sidewall to take up irregularities in the road, and the road surface, even on a smooth racetrack. So if you're doing events with this, or doing track days or autocross or other events like solo events, I would say definitely get the bars. If you just like adding stuff to your car, a lot of people just like hot rodding their cars and adding all the latest gadgets and stuff, go ahead, add it. You could always just leave it on the loose side if you don't like it. If anything, it'll add to the value of the car when you sell it. So that's something to consider. Now I still need to do some more playing around with these bars and driving. I just haven't had the time between the first video and this video. But I will be doing some further stuff. I'm going to see, maybe make some changes to those brackets so they don't flex, like you can see they pull in when you tighten up those bars. I have a different opinion of how they should be mounted that would prevent that. If I do it, I'll go into another video. Another thing I want to do, I want to see if I can set up some type of measuring device with the top off and with the bars removed, and see how much flex you get from here to here with the bars and without them. So I'm going to try and do that in the future. It'll probably be way down the road. I got too many other things going on right now. Anyway, should you or shouldn't you buy them? Is it worth it? That's something you're going to have to decide for yourself. For track day use, like I said, for track day use, autocross and all that stuff, yeah, you're gonna be making mods to the car anyway and want to improve your times and stuff. Definitely get the bars. For driving around on the roads, if you're a spirited driver like I am, I like getting on twisty mountain roads and driving. It kind of depends where you live. Like here in Pennsylvania, you don't want a harsh suspension. The roads are like frosty and stuff. Say you live down by where Tail of the Dragon is. The roads down there don't have the problem with frosties. There's a lot better, smoother roads. It's probably more worth it. So how you use the car will depend on your decision to buy or not buy them. Spend the money. It's, personally, I think you're better off spending money. Like if you have the factory stock suspension with the stock factory bushings, you're better off spending money on new bushings and better shocks. That's where your money would be better spent, and then decide to go to the bars if you want or not. I personally prefer the Delron bushings. Like I have the Global West Del A-Lum bushings, they're called. I prefer them over poly. I had poly on that. I did videos on those bushings. I'll try and leave links up here during the video. And I run poly in the back, and that's like that definitely makes an improvement. I also run what they refer to as a smart strut, which basically takes the aluminum lower control arm off the rear and has an adjustable arm with a DRM camber bracket, which basically changes how much camber change you have in your rear wheel travel. I also have that on here. So things like that were worth it, in my opinion. These bars, I'm still not quite sold on it, and a lot of it has to do with the roads I drive on around here. You want a more compliant suspension than you want a stiff suspension. If all I was doing is track days, especially at like a track at, say, Watkins Glen and New Jersey Motorsport Park, I would definitely want a stiffer suspension. Whenever I don't do track days anymore, but whenever I did, I would always crank up the rebound on these. Now with the bar system and these roads around here, I had to cut it way back. So wish I could give a more comprehensive review of it, but that's the best I can do. Something you're going to have to decide for yourself. It's one of those things. Car's a personal thing. How the ride and handle is also a personal thing. But I guess that's all for the video. I wish I could be more get like more data. Like, I definitely want to somehow measure the flex with the top off with the bars installed and not installed. Definitely got to do that in the future. But I'm afraid I'm going to just have to end the video here, and that's the best I can do for now. So I hope it was helpful in some way. Everybody have a great day, and God bless.